Maria, I lived on the other side of the Iron Curtain during the Cold War. And what I can tell you, two things. One, it was really cold. It was not a happy place. But also that it creates damage to everybody. You get part of the world that is excluded from the movement of capital. Opportunities for businesses are reduced. And of course, we have to think about long-term growth prospects, that they require more opportunities for everybody, not less.
It's incredible context from you, given that you lived within communism and can actually look back and understand clearly the impact. It sounds to me that you are approaching what's happening right now with a calm head. You've seen this before. It doesn't appear that you're very concerned. Sure, you're expecting slowdown, but not recession. Is that correct?
This is exactly what we see. We see a slowdown. We see, again, I want to repeat, my main message is get uncertainty down so businesses and consumers can plan. And when we do that, we would see very positive impact for the economy.
It's good to know that we just need some clarity to actually calm things down.
We do. I mean, we are. It is a interesting point that something that has been built up for a long time. It didn't happen in one day. It has been built over time. Came to this inflection point, and how we come out of it has to be done, as you said, calmly, with a decisiveness. We want the best for our businesses. We want the best for our people.
And you led with the word trust. We need to trust. I know that we have some questions from the audience that we can begin. Yes, sir.
We start great things. Let me echo the point that this is a critically important institution. We're fortunate that it exists, and this is the best and the brightest in the world right here. So we're glad you're here. We're glad that you do what you do. Marie, let me play on some of your questions and your concluding remark. And that is, there's no doubt that the shocks of the last couple of months have been harrowing for many in the markets. There's a lot of doom scrolling. There's a lot of catastrophizing going on. I've probably done my share of it. But are there some silver linings? Might we see, as you alluded to, out of the U.S. reforms that can address the imbalances that we've been talking about for 20 years, that can improve productivity? Could we see an acceleration of reforms in Europe that will lead to faster growth and, again, higher productivity? The mood music in Europe is so much better than it was 2 years ago. And could we possibly see these trade negotiations, I'm not a fan of tariffs, but these trade negotiations actually produce a reduction in tariffs, reciprocity, and non-tariff barriers, again, you alluded to, so that we're actually better off?
Of course, this is possible. And actually, sometimes you need to be in that kind of shock to see that the way that you take forward, you brave to do things that you thought were not possible. I want to give you three examples. One is Germany and the debt break. Germany, for a long time, recognized that they were inflicting on themselves and the rest of Europe restriction in fiscal capacity. Because of it, they took a brave decision that is very good for Europe. And this decision was accelerated because of the need to strengthen Europe's position. And I really hope Europe would take this moment to get all the unfinished business on the single market finished. Second example, you look at the graph I showed on trade barriers and non-trade barriers. Well, in injecting this moment, yes, it is bilateral discussions, but I expect this to lead to some action around reducing, eliminating barriers that could have broader benefit for the world. And three, countries that should have traded with each other more are now going to be pushed to do it. Take the African continent. I mean, what is this? You go from one country to Paris to get to another country that is your neighbor. That forcing countries, forcing regions to find more opportunities that are there for them to grab. I think it is going to come. And I think that it is going to be, Tim, it's going to be very likely a bit messier. Of course, it is easier to have one global trade agreement and everybody plays by its rules. The problem is that it hasn't quite acted with teeth to really get everybody to perform. So we're likely to see more bilateral, plurilateral agreements coming. And maybe they would add some additional vibrancy. And also there is the thing that we don't know. Every time when you have a shock, something positive gets unleashed that you have not even thought about. Well, I am kind of hopeful to see that happening.
Kristalina, you said that we likely won't see a recession, but are you worried about a spike of inflation later in the year, or do you think the rest of the agenda that we're talking about, tax cuts and deregulation, will limit the spike?
So that's a very interesting question. Where are the organizers? Can we please have an additional hour, Maria and I here?
I'm sorry.
Look, I mean, it's gonna. We lived in the luxury world where monetary policy was all the same for everybody. After COVID, everybody did the same thing: monetary policy, accommodation, bring more financing. Then came the shock of inflation. Interest rates had to jump up. Everybody did the same thing, tightened up. Now we are in a place where it's not going to be the same thing for everybody. You would have where it is more of a supply shock. In other words, fewer goods, more expensive goods, that may push inflation up. But on the other hand, if people are scared of spending, they keep their money in their pockets, that would push inflation down. So I think it would be important to watch it carefully. We do not see in either direction a big swing. But we do see a little bit of slowdown in the disinflation process in some countries. We also see where the economy is more affected and weakening, then you need to cut. Mm-hmm. So
yes, central banks have a role.
And central banks have a role. They have to watch carefully what is happening around them, and they have to not fall behind the curve, neither rush to something. You saw the European Central Bank cut. You know, in their case, it is kind of impacting their economy shock, a slowdown shock. They risk to see an increase in cheap goods coming from other places, which means that they're going to have disinflationary pressures. So, chop.
And that's what we saw today. Yes, sir.
Gary Littman, U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Madam Managing Director, thank you for highlighting the importance of trade. If the dust settles and the tariffs remain higher than they used to be, how will that impact the longer-term growth potential of different economies, and how is the fund preparing to address the new normal, if you will, with higher tariffs around the world?
So first, we are not prejudging where tariffs would land, because we think it's something that we need to watch carefully. There may be some places where actually the direction is to bring tariffs down. I mentioned India as one example. Second, we think of growth drivers, potential growth in a more comprehensive manner. And actually, one thing that pains me is that before this focus on tariff came, we were all talking about artificial intelligence, how it is going to increase productivity, competition, how important it is, removing barriers for private initiative, how important this is. And now we forgot about that part. And actually, when we are here next week for our global debate, we will try to bring back this focus, pro-growth policies, structural reforms that are supportive of growth. Back to your point, you want to be stronger? Well, get your house in order.
And part of that is cutting debt. Are you concerned about the level of debt right now in the United States?
The United States is a very interesting story from the perspective of tracking financial flows. Before the pandemics, the total assets here, equity and debt in the United States, was 38% of GDP. Today, it is 72% of GDP. Wow. Very big jump. And the big jump came primarily from the equity side. Investors saying, we see this is an innovation, dynamic economy, we want to be here. We believe that actually getting to some moderation, both on the debt side, but also in how the US deals with financial flows on the equity side, this is something that is not bad, because 72% of GDP means that people are putting their money in the same place. How much is enough? And then it also means that for the rest of the world, access to capital gets more restricted. We are not among those who say, the debt situation in the United States is not sustainable. No, we don't say that. But again, you look at your financials and you say, how much exposure do I want to have to my savers and to the rest of the world? And how do we balance that better for our own long-term interest?
Managing Director, we are grateful to have your steady hand and your calm approach during this moment of stress. Thank you, Cristalina.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Well, many thanks to the audience. And please do come on Tuesday to listen to our chief economist. He will have much more interesting stuff to tell you.
We look forward to that.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you.